Welcome to another episode of CHILIpulse, the space we created to get actionable insights on all things Chili graphics. And today we have an important one. It's a big milestone, so that's why we also have Jeroen with us.
Hi Bram.
Hi Jeroen. Jeroen is our product owner for GraFx Studio, and we have some major capabilities upgrades that have been released, so that's why we are in the studio to go through it. So what are these new features, capabilities?
So we have indeed some exciting new features. So it's anchoring, it's layout presets and designer run mode, but let's not focus too much on the features, but on the problems we want to solve. So I created a template as a demo for this CHILIpulse, and in this demo you take up the role of a real estate agent.
Okay, happy to do that.
All right, so let's immediately dive into it. So as you can see here, there's a template. So let's say you as an agent, you want to you have a new property and you want to advertise that.
Yeah.
Now, as a realty company, we want to empower our organization or agents to make those advertisements, to make that graphical content, to have the freedom to change things, to change images, to change text, to change sizes, without messing up the original design or messing up the brand. So you want to keep that control over the brand. So that's actually what GraFx Studio does for you. So here you can see on the left, you can change a lot of stuff, but you cannot change the design.
So the realty company decided for me what I, as a local agent, can change or what not.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, and it's super easy. So here, for instance, let's start with print. So you can, there's offline and online options. So, but let's start with print. You can change the size, the images, and some other stuff. So for instance, on the images, to start with that one, here this property has 3 images. But let's say there's a new property, of course, with other images. So when I remove images, as you can see, the design already adapts. So it's not that you have some white space where the image should come, it adapts. So if there's only one image, it looks like this. So let's say I want to replace that. There's a new property, really nice one. So I add it, it's easy. So if when I have a second image I want to add, let's say of the living room, see the design adapts, and let's again add the third one, let's say the kitchen, design adapts, super easy.
Great, so basically now my A4, I see it's an A4 size is already done.
That's already done.
Okay, but then I know with our magazine, they ask for an inset, an A4 inset, so it has a white border in the publication, so how could I change that?
Well, that's indeed a fact with print. So in magazines, newspapers, it's not really standardized, the sizes. So it can be very different. So that's why in this case, we just let the agent enter width and height. So it can be any size. So indeed, if there's some white space on the A4, and let's say the required size is 192 by 276, as you can see, the design automatically adapts.
Okay.
So it still looks the same. And you can even then change it also if you need a bit more or less margin. It's very easy.
Depending on the magazine, it could be
a the white space, the requirements could be different indeed.
Okay. But then next to a full page, I also have a magazine where we publish like a half page. Can I do that as well?
Same thing. So if that half page would be, let's say 192 by not 276 but 136, it resizes. But here you also see, because that's actually a landscape instead of a portrait, that also the design adapts. So now the text goes to the right because that just looks nicer and you can place bigger images that way. All happens automatically.
And I see it's a new listing, but let's say that it's an updated pricing. I want to change that title. Also, there's a variable you can input.
You can update it, and as you can see, it's automatically capitalized because as a designer, that's a title. I want it to be in capitals, and that's also in the template. I cannot mess it up. Whatever I write here, it can be small letters. It's capitalized. Same thing. I can update location, property description. In the agent, I see that you're not Chinese, but instead maybe John Murphy. If I would change that, here you can see that not only the name but also the title and the profile picture are automatically updated.
Let's hope I don't live up to my name as Murphy. Great to see this on the front end. So how I, as an agent, would consume it. How did we get there from a template designer side?
Well, let's dive into the template designer workspace of GraFx Studio. So this is where you create the template and put all the logic and all the smart stuff in there. So here on the left, you can see there's actually 6 A4 layouts, 3 for portrait and 3 for landscape. Each time with a version for 1 image, 2 images, 3 images. Same for landscape.
It's one template, but you have different layouts in the template.
You have different layouts. So that's where it comes from, that when you change the width and height, that it automatically selects the best layout for.
But you say automatically, I guess it's not fuzzy logic. There's a bit more.
Of course, you need to tell GraFx Studio what automatic means. And that's where actions come into place. So in this case, there's an action, the smart resize for print. And whenever you change the add width or height, or remove an image or add an image, this action, like this action, will be executed. I will select the correct layout. So that's JavaScript. So that is being executed. That's like the logic in the template.
But imagine I would be a template designer. I'm not as proficient in JavaScript. I can read it, but how do I get to this point?
Indeed, and that's where GraFx Genie comes to the rescue. So here you have this button. When you click it, it's actually just entering a prompt. So in this case, it's a quite easy prompt. When you use good layout names and variable names, it knows what to do with it. And then that's all I did, actually. I just gave GraFx Genie this prompt and created this action for me, and that just works.
And if necessary, you can still tweak the script that has been generated.
You can still tweak, or if it does not work with a new prompt, maybe more specific, maybe you missed something.
Okay.
That's all in there.
Super. On the front end, you showed that we changed it to an inset. How does that work?
That's indeed a good question, because now I create layout for A4, but when you work with white space, then your design gets a bit smaller, but that's where anchoring, so one of the new exciting features, where anchoring comes into place. And as you can see here, when you select a frame, all sides are relatively anchored, so they have a relative offset to the page. This actually means that if the page resizes, those offsets, those margins are preserved. So here it's relative, which means that when the page resizes, your frame will proportionally grow or shrink with it. So actually your design will still look as you see it here.
And that is by default. So the moment you create a design, it will anchor.
That's by default. You see it is applied to all frames, are relatively anchored to make sure that resizing just works. So actually you do not need to care about it, it works.
Okay, and it doesn't require the actions or scripting, that works out of the box.
You can just set it up. So there's a simple component for that. You have some options that you can specify, but that's actually very easy to do. In most cases, the relative anchoring is what you want.
But I didn't see the other layout. So how can you test it now if my anchoring setup works?
Indeed, and for that, there's another new exciting feature, and that's the design and run mode. So here you can see design and run. Design is actually what we had before this release. But now we add run mode. And in run mode, what you actually do is you load the template with the interface as if you were the end user, as if you were the agent yourself. So it's exactly the same. So here you can test it. You can play with the data inputs and see how the template reacts to that. So again, same thing. If I would work with the inset, you can see, okay, it works. If I go to the half page, so that's the same thing as if you would be the agent. And that's very convenient. And actually for two reasons. One is to test it. If something doesn't work, I go back to design mode. I change something, I go back to run mode to try it out again. So that back and forth goes very fast. But another thing is, while testing it, I do not mess up my original design, because playing with it, you can easily mess it up, or do maybe without even realizing it. So that's really important. That makes designing this really much faster.
Okay, that's great. We stayed a bit in the print area, but we also talked about, I need, as an agent, John needs some social media ads. to advertise that house, the property, where do we start there?
Indeed, so here we focus on the print ad. So if I now switch, for instance, to social media, you will see that I don't have an ad width or ad height input anymore, because for social media, those sizes are more standardized.
Yeah.
So it's easier to just have some sizes available where I can just select one. So let's say in this example template, we work with Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
So I can just select one and that automatically takes that size.
But my house is gone.
Your house is not gone. It's
I'm happy.
because for social
Not
media,
gone.
it is animated.
Okay.
So I can play it and see, there it
Yeah.
is. So and that animation works for all these different different variants. And here also the same thing. For instance, if I go to the Facebook landscape, you see that it's again another design where my text is on the right, the image is on the left, and also it's animated.
All right.
And then, yeah, same thing then, for instance, for window display, display that you would put in your store.
Yeah.
It's also here, there's no additional option because we only offer the full HD because it's a standard format for displays, but it's also animated.
And there you can also make me John.
I can also make you John.
I'm happy, so we can
There
be
you go.
consistent. Thank you so much. And how does that work on the template designer side to get to that point?
Well, let's switch back to design mode. And here, as you can see, there's another bunch of layouts. 3 for Instagram, 2 for Facebook, and then you have the full HD.
Yeah.
So, and to prove how easy it is, I will now delete all of them and just recreate them.
Okay.
And you will see how fast it goes. So I delete all these layouts.
So no faking in CHILIpulse, we'll do it real live.
It's hands-on.
Yeah.
It's live, Bram. So I start from creating a sub-layout. And here there's another nice feature that we released that comes into play, where you have a whole set of most common sizes for print, for social, for display networks, for digital out of home. You can just select one.
Because you said most of them are fixed size, so it's just a bunch of layout presets you can choose from.
It makes it much faster to create all those layouts and also less error prone.
Yeah.
So it saves you a lot of time. So for social, as you can see, there's Facebook, different sizes. There's Instagram, there's X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. There's even TikTok and Snapchat.
Yeah.
All of those are in there. But let's now, for this example, start with the Instagram square ad. It's always easiest to start with one. As you can see here, because it is for socials, the intent already changes to digital animated. It's not print, it's digital. And it's already assumed that you want to animate it. So then let's indeed animate it. So let's say for the new listing, I want to have the title just slide in from the left. Of course, I add an ease type because that looks nicer and more professional. Same thing for the image. I will slide in with an ease out, but I want that to happen after the text has appeared, and then maybe on the location, I add an emphasis just to put to draw the attention. A simple pulse. I want to be a bit faster, and that's it. So when I play it, it looks like that. Easy, very quick to set up, and that's it. So my first layout is already done.
I like the subtle pulse in CHILIpulse.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so but that's one layout. You showed me there was a lot. So how do we get to the other ones?
Well, again, same thing. So I create layout, but I can actually create multiple layouts at once. So let's say I go back to the Instagram ones. I can just search for them. So I add these two, then Facebook. Let's also add, for instance, these two. So I create those 4 layouts.
Yeah.
And as you can see, they're all there. Because of the anchoring, they already look good. And even better, the animation still applies. So that still works. So actually those are done. So no additional work.
So it inherits all the properties of the animation.
Indeed. So it inherits everything from the parent layout where I already created the animation.
Yeah.
Very, very easy and fast to do. But as you can see here, again, landscape, this doesn't look really nice. You want the image to be with another aspect ratio. So let me quickly change that. So let's say I move it here. I will move the location here. And as you can see, the location name automatically moves along because it's actually anchored to this pin image. So I will have the description below. Oh, I will take this one, yes. And then the name of the agent. And as you can see here, same thing. The name and the title move along, and they even resize. When I make the image bigger or smaller, they resize because of the anchoring. I move this one, and then maybe as a last final thing, then make the image again somewhat bigger, and that's it.
So you can override the inheritance properties.
Yeah, so on layouts individually, everything is taken over from parent layout, but you can still make changes. And same thing here, the animation still applies.
Great.
That's it. And then
only one left, the window display?
Only one left, indeed. So because it leans most towards this landscape aspect ratio, because most commonly those displays are in the landscape orientation. So then I go to the digital out of home, presets, I take the full HD, create, and it works. That's it.
Great.
That's all I have to do. And I just recreated all those layouts in just a matter of minutes.
Great. Yeah, I'm silent because it went very fast. Thank you so much. And if you could summarize, so what is the impact of these capabilities to our platform, to GraFx Studio?
This is really game changer. All of these features together, it not only empowers your organization to do all those page resizes because of the anchoring, also for the designer, with the designer run mode to try it out with layout presets, it's much faster to create the layout. It's not only, it's for the designer because it's much faster to create those designs, but also for the end user because the end user now has way more freedom because of that resizing. You can, and in the meantime, also taking control over the styling and your brand to make sure that nothing is messed up. So, and all of that in one template.
Great. And as I would see it, it saves a lot of time, not only for me, John Murphy, on the user side, because I can make my own designs, but I also saw on the template designer side. So the person creating those templates for me to be able to use them also saves a lot of time in the creation of the setup of the template.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Jeroen, so much for walking us through the new capabilities. And indeed, it's a game changer, I think, for us, but also for our users, for our customers. So thanks for bringing us up to date.
Very happy to do so, Bram.
And if you, audience, viewers, listeners, also wants to play around with this exact template, we'll have it available on the discovery environments that we have for you to try out. So just give us a shout out and we can give you access to that template so you can find out how fast it is and challenge us to make it even faster. Thank you so much and see you in the next episode. Thank you, Jeroen.
Thank you, Bram.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.